Hey, welcome to the Higher Navy Podcast. My name is Joe Way, and I am your host, and we have a good one for you today. I'm really, really excited about this episode because I love talking to people I haven't really talked to and gotten to know, and people who I saw her on, like, getting in HETMA and kind of on there and getting, answering a few things. And so, as you all know, I use this show to cheat and get myself to know people, and the best way to do that is invite them on the show, and that's actually how this whole podcast began years and years ago. As I came into higher ed and didn't know anyone, and said, let me start a podcast and talk to people, and as I talk to people, I'll know people. So I get to do that again this episode. So I'm really, really excited about that. So with no further ado, again, everyone's favorite part of the show where I stop talking and the guests start. And that, Brittney, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining. Please introduce yourself, tell people who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I am Brittney Grant, and I am an audiovisual specialist here at Ames Community College up in Northern Colorado. And I help with all sorts of different events that happen throughout the college here, both internal and external, and just see what life decides to throw at us as a whole.
I love that. So I know we chatted for a couple minutes before I hit record, and so you don't do anything with the classrooms, you do all the events. So explain a little bit kind of how your setup is there at the college.
So we're not IT, we're not events. We are under facilities and operations, and we are part of the support logistics part of facilities and operations, and we help assist with all of the commencements, all of the big events. We just built this brand new welcome center, and then redid our student commons, and so we just kind of help all the different events throughout all of those places.
Awesome. So facilities, that's an interesting place to fall, because I don't hear that. Like I would say, I usually hear IT or provost or libraries. Facilities is different. So
yeah, well, we used to always have events under facilities, and then some restructuring happened, and then it went under communications media, under the marketing department, and then the support logistics side, so our side of it, and the tables and chairs and that kind of setup moved back under facilities. Yeah, and so it's a whole long conversation where everyone's like, "You're IT? No, we're not, and we're not events either. We help with events."
That is interesting. So do you all have? So I'm parsing this whole thing out. I'm going to get to the bottom of this here, because I think if people are going to love this. So do you then have a separate classroom support team that lives in a different place, and a separate events team that lives in a different place?
Not at this point. Our classroom person retired back in June, and it doesn't sound like they're reposting that job. So we're not sure what that's going to look like. So I don't know, but I do know that we're pretty solid in our stance that we don't do classroom tech. And it's a weird, I don't know how to connect with people who do the classroom side, because it's very basic to it's similar to what we do, but I've been told very adamantly that that's not what we do.
I love that.
So
that is so interesting. I know, but it's interesting. Like I nerd out and geek out on like org structure. Like that's just, to me, I don't know. It's like it's a weird thing of mine.
And it takes us 15 minutes to explain our position and things, because everyone's like, so where are you? And nobody knows. And currently events does not have any AV support in their department. And so we're still figuring this out. We're very new in this kind of massive external event space. We have now 3 ballrooms, an auditorium, meeting spaces. So we're still trying to figure out where we play in all the games.
That is so interesting. That's interesting. All right. So now you mentioned too, before we hit record, that so you're coming up on your 1 year there, right?
Yeah.
1 year. Congratulations on that. It's always
a
big milestone. So talk us through and explain to everybody kind of, how did you get to where you are? What was your history? Where'd you work through, and then to get to there?
I am on like my third or fourth career at this point in my life. I always did backstage stuff in high school for the theater department, and I really liked that. And I kind of forgot that it could be an adult job. So I went into healthcare for a little bit, and I did caregiving and activities, and then moved over to manufacturing and did quality control for about 5 years, and then drove Lyft for about 3. And then I had always been volunteering with my church on the AV team. I actually quit last year about September because I just couldn't do a full-time job and all the other things that were on my plate. And so I formally resigned from my church as being on their tech team. And after like 17 years of being there. So I started as just a wee little nobody and hitting the go button services on lights, and all the way up to directing and being the senior volunteer and coordinating all of the services and events, and not the events, but more the services week out. So, and then I moved while I was on the tech team, I was also working at Union Colony Civic Center, which is our roadhouse here in Greeley, and moved up through the ranks through there and ended up being an assistant stage manager all through COVID. And so we went from a staff of 55 people down to a staff of 5.
Whoa.
So I got some pretty hands-on learning during that time period. And then during that time, I figured I might as well try to finish my associate's degree. And since Ames here has an audiovisual track, I looked into what it would be like to switch into that. It was going to be too many credits lost to switch out of applied arts. And so I just started looking at different certificates. So I currently have my TV production certificate, but also learned I don't want to do TV. I don't doing live more. And while I was in school, I got picked out to be a little bit more of a leader than I ever thought I would be. So I got vice president of facilities and operations on our student government association, and got working with the facilities guys here, and they let me know that they were going to open up a full-time position and that I should apply. And I did. And here we are a year later.
Love it. Love it. I love that journey. And also, I'm partial to anyone who came through doing stuff at their church too. I had, when I was at Cal Baptist, and I was also still working at Saddleback, and that was so hard. Well, because it also took your entire life. Right? I mean, because you're 9 to Monday through Friday, and then you're going working another thing, on the weekend. I miss it. I miss the team, just missing the volunteer aspect of it and the community of all that. But I understand going, okay, you can't do them all.
No, I was definitely burning out fast, and I didn't want to do that.
Yep, absolutely. So talk now that you've had a year kind of in the in higher ed. How do you, obviously in case your boss listens, you have to say you like it. But what is that transition like? And how are you, what is it, going from kind of that live events side, which I consider like church stuff too, and into I don't know. It's still kind of live events, but different, So talk about that little transition and kind
of. It's still hard. I'm not quite into it. I keep saying it's the internal politics that are going to get me in this job. Because I also, and nothing against my team or anything, my leadership. I just came from a very, very strong tech leadership at the theater, and he'd been my mentor forever, and basically he would back us on anything. And now I'm in a you can't say no position. So if I needed to tell a client no at the theater, that was totally fine, and he would back me. I was saying no for a reason. Here it's also I'm saying no for a reason, but I can't, and it's all yes all the time. And so it's just it definitely stretches the need to make it work, even when it's all broken.
Yeah, I totally. I'm there for you because I remember, since I came through live events my entire career before going into higher ed, and it was really hard transition for me. Like the hard part for me, because I also own my own production company and all of that stuff. So I was used to like, yeah, I did what I needed to do. So then like having a structure and like, wait, I'm a boss. What do you mean I'm a boss? I mean, I have to like ask to do things. I'm like, I
And
just do things.
connecting with the different departments is it's almost I have to get both of our directors involved in things. And it's like I feel like I shouldn't have to. We should be able to have this conversation and we're not. And we're still piecing out what it all looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
Oh,
us.
yeah.
And so we're definitely in the middle of growing pains, and we are already booked out a year for all of our for a lot of our external stuff. And so yeah, it's
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm
0
there
to
with you.
60.
I'm there with you. So talk a little bit about, again, kind of what are some projects, things you work. I guess you mentioned before we record too that you're sitting in a new building and stuff. So talk a little bit about kind of what stuff you're working on and kind of what the future is for y'all.
I am definitely learning a lot more about installation and stuff than I ever really thought that I would. Without saying too much, we weren't quite left with a working building per se. And I feel like 2020 had a lot to do with that. Just different things had a lot to do with that. And so my teammate and I have definitely had to learn all of the different. So I knew nothing about Crestron. I knew nothing about, like, I knew the basics of plug in here, but I'm really starting to get to know the inner workings, and like I knew the basics of Dante, and here's the thing, and here's the thing, and you put them together. But then just learning all of the different things and how things are routed in this building. So it's just, that's been a huge learning curve for both of us. And I am definitely more the front, like be with the events and stuff. And my counterpart is definitely a little bit more behind the scenes, definitely doing the routing and stuff. And so we're trying to figure it out. And our programmer for our Crestron and our Biamp and stuff is in California. And so to have anything done is a little bit of a stretch kind of a thing to, and he's not here. And so it's how do we specifically describe what's going on? So, but it's been really cool to watch this building go from a shell when I was here as a student and walk through and do all of the tours and stuff to now working in it and knowing this building so intimately that it's sometimes frustrating.
I understand. It's funny because I kind of remember going through the same thing, like when I first moved into kind of, the kind of commercial integration side, let's call it, and, I did the same thing. I don't know if I ever used an Extron or Crestron or whatever system. I just, I hit the panel on a wall and stuff turned on, it was different than the soundboard and all of those things and the lighting console.
Analog and digital. And I'm definitely more, I like analog, in the sense that it's like plug in here and here and this and this isn't working, then check the cable. And now it's like, well, is it routed right in Dante? Did it get unrouted? Is it routed right in Crestron? Is it connected? So we're it's a huge learning curve, and the imposter syndrome is real.
I understand. So talk about that, because like it is, and I totally get it, because I remember going through that and going, wow, okay, I got to learn this whole thing, which I ended up loving, and I loved, almost like I had to do the same thing at Cal Baptist when I went in. Like we had a bunch of stuff that just didn't work, so I kind of was forced to learn it, which was a good. It turned out to be a good thing to be. So So why imposter syndrome?
I tend to have English is hard. So when I'm having a problem, it's hard for me sometimes to put the words to it. And that's even harder when I have to type things, because I also have a very lovely dyslexia. And so it's trying to put it all into the words and everything is harder for me. So I'm definitely, let me put my hands on it. Let me show me how to do it hands on. Tell me about it. Show me. And we actually never got owner's training on this building.
So
So
that's just jumping in and doing it, which is sometimes the best way to learn though too.
yeah,
But
and until we're all learning quickly and all the things all at once. So it's one of those when I interviewed for this job, I was probably detrimentally, brutally honest about myself and where I thought I sat. And I mean, I got the job, so it wasn't
I was
too
gonna say
different.
they still thought you were the best candidate. There you go. All right.
I definitely know that there are spaces in it that I need to grow and that I'm trying to. And I grew up on a Yamaha board, and now I have a D
Yes.
Live, and it's intimidating. So it's just trying to learn all the simple cuts and whatnot. And so I know my stuff, but I also know that I have a very limited scope of what I'm super comfortable with. And so when I get put in these things, it's like I'm very proud of myself that I can track a lot of conversations and I understand them, but to turn around and talk about it feels a lot harder. So yeah, that's definitely the step of imposter, because it's, again, I know my stuff and I know to a certain extent what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But
And it's interesting because I've had see, these are the conversations I love. Because I've had a lot of people on shows, and it's funny, even when when I invite people on, and I love you're like, oh, let's do it. I wouldn't have guessed you'd have that, but it is funny because sometimes people will write back and go, well, why me? I don't get what I don't get, and it was and that whole I don't do anything special, and I think it's a common thread in our vertical. And I don't know what it is. And it probably is through life in general for everybody, but I notice it a lot in our vertical of a sense of that, and I don't necessarily put words in your mouth, but that sense of of the why me. I'm not here. I don't get something's going to go wrong, and I don't belong here, and I think it's quite common, especially in live events. I remember, and in what we do, especially like if I take, say, our classroom stuff, our expectation is 100%, right? There is no like, hey, you can get a 9, the stuff can work 90% of the time. Hey, that's an A, good job. No,
right.
the expectation of us is that it works all the time and everything goes smoothly.
Yep.
And that's a big thing to put on yourself, right? And I think that's why I think a lot of us have that imposter syndrome, because the expectation is so high.
Right. And for me, it's one of those things where we're a brand new building, so everyone thinks that we can just do anything and everything that they can imagine. And for a while there, it was like we couldn't rely on our projectors coming in or the connection from our floor box to make it to the projector. And so, or even just our microphones working, or there were a lot of things that we were not set up for success. And so the job that I am currently doing, I don't think was the same job that they had me apply for. So they're full of grace, and I am trying to give myself grace and learn and process, but it's definitely it's a stretch some days.
So then give advice, because there are a lot of listeners too who kind of are making the transition. I would say like AV, especially in higher ed, a lot of people just fall into it, or maybe they came through as a student work or whatever. Like it's not necessarily a destination people go and say, this is what I want to do. And I love the vertical, like doing that, but it's not something you talk to your high school counselor saying you want to do, but we all end up here somewhere. So what advice can you then give? So you've now done this for a year. You've come into something and had to learn and grow. What advice do you give someone who might be in that position, maybe stepping into their new role?
If it's something, if you find the bits and pieces that you like and try to cultivate that more and build into it. Like if you know that you like figuring out problems, heck yeah, AV and all the things, that's right where you need to be. And then also just the why me and the I'm nobody special, but we all hold ourselves to the 110%. And if it doesn't go that way, and that's the hard thing about everyone just thinking that anything and everything can happen in this building, is I would much rather you come in and tell me something, and then I over deliver, because I was like, well, there's this. But when people come in just to a certain extent demanding that we do these things that we're not capable of, it's definitely hard.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
it's always rising to the occasion. So
100%, 100%. It's funny because you made me think of like so many times, like especially like say working in church or in the church or whatever, like you miss, you unmute an oomph of a second too late, or you miss one lighting cue by an oomph of a second, and it bears on you. And you like feel like the entire show was a failure, and you're like literally, okay, that was like one lighting cue out of 700.
The thing is nobody else notices.
Yes, they don't, but we carry that, right? We put it on ourselves, like, oh, the whole day was a disaster. And like everyone's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. And it was always nice because my dad was always in the congregation for the church ones. And so I'd be like, did you notice anything? And then he'd be like, no. And I'm like, okay. So I mediate between the two. But yeah, we do it for the ones of us in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a clocking issue that would make certain ones of our mics cut out, and we're still having part of that issue. We're figuring it out. We're working on it. We're collecting data still.
Word clock. That's the bane of people's existence, especially in digital technology, because if it's not synced, then nothing works.
Yeah. But it's definitely we figure it out. And I was going somewhere with that, and my train of thought derailed, and there were no survivors.
It's all good. It's all good. So no, all right. So then let's go. What kind of, I found you because I saw you getting, kind of being in the HEPA stuff and things like that. So one, I'm breaking my own rule and I'm asking multiple part questions. And I tell myself not to do that. But how did you find the community? What did you then do, knowing, hey, you're walking into a new position and you need to learn? What were the steps you took to do that? How did you find our community? How did you get involved? How are you like, okay, there's my 95-point question. And there you go. Question, and there you go.
So it all starts with, I found out that we had these professional development money that we could draw on, and we just had to find a conference to go to and whatnot. So I started looking at different AV professional ones and all this other stuff, and I found AVIXA. And so an InfoCon. And so it just kind of snowballed into that. And so I went out, and I'm very much an introvert. I don't do things out of my normal routine to an extent, except for this spring. So I did a lot, and I ended up going on tour for a couple days. That's a whole different story. But I ended up going to Florida by myself. I did end up having a friend join me just so that she could kick me out of the hotel every morning and make sure that I actually went to the convention, went to the classes I signed up for. And in one of them, I had, his name is going to slip my brain right now. But we had a couple classes together, and he had just found you guys, and he was like, you should go check this out. You're in higher ed. And I was like, okay. And so I popped down and saw you guys, and I was like, well, this is a fun environment. I wish I had found you guys earlier and stayed later. But we ended up flying out Friday morning. So I did learn that Friday is a very important day. There might not be classes.
Friday's the secret.
Friday is important. Go to Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And I signed up when I got home, and it with feeling not, in a sense, worthy, not the right word, but just trying to like find some traction and some connection on something that I knew was like, I can just sit in the corner and listen here for a little while and gather things and learn things and maybe help out in certain aspects.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that. I think that stepping out, and I'm glad that you found us and came by. I mean, wasn't it awesome having a higher ed, having a big old booth there? And everything?
No, it it was good.
And it's funny because that was, when we were talking kind of as a board, like, why would we like first end users ever an energy group to put a booth on Infocom show floor? It's like, but why? And it's like, you're the story of exactly why.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, let's be that lampstand for a community, right? And be there and say, hey, you're not alone, right?
Yeah.
And we have a group and we have similar needs, and we have, the need to learn, the need to throw ideas off of each other, the need to connect. And one of the things that I always say, and I mean, everyone's heard me say this way too many times, is that we're not competitors, we're colleagues, right? Like, an integrator who gets a job isn't going to call a different integrator and go, wait, how do I do this? But if you have an issue, that's something that comes up, or I have something, I can throw it out to the community, and you'll get 80 different ideas going, oh, this is how I did, this is what I used, and here, do you want to jump on a Zoom call? And maybe we can talk about, like, and that's very unique, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was really kind of the point. So I'm stoked that you found it and someone told you, because that was exactly the point, right?
Yeah.
Exactly the point. And automatically just hearing that from you makes me go, okay, the Holy Word. What do we say, Trish? You just get one. If you got one, you've done it. You've changed one life, right?
Yep.
And that really, so that's pretty awesome. That is, I love that. And I have no idea if there's a question in there anywhere. I don't think I did ask a question in there anywhere. But that's exciting to see. So, all right, so you come back from Infocom. Now you've experienced the industry. You've done that. What are your next steps? What are you doing? Like, you come on year one. What's year two look like for you?
Going in a little bit more confidently and knowing that I know that I can do this job, but I now have a year under my belt of doing this, and we're going to get even weirder requests coming forward. And so it's just figuring it out. I'm trying not to put too many caveats on it and just let it loosey-goosey roll.
All right, so you said more interesting requests. So what's your craziest request you've gotten so far? Every live event has a great story. There's got to be something.
So part of the thing is we are not, in a sense, yes, we have a speaker system. Yes, we have all these things. We're not quite set up to do live music and that kind of stuff. Like, we are and we aren't. Like, we have all the things, but we were definitely built to be a speaking engagement and symposiums and conferences and that kind of stuff. Not quite live music. But we have done a few different things at this point. So we'll see what happens. But they were doing a Pink Floyd tribute night, and they brought in an alumni from here, and he had all these really big, great ideas. And we have, as part of our auditorium, we have skyboxes that are normally conference rooms that open up to be seating. And one of the ideas he threw out was to take a plane and crash it into the stage. But he also wanted to fly drones in the room.
This does not sound like it's going to go well.
No, that as he was spewing ideas, that was when I pulled I'm going to throw in these directors of all of these different things, because you're not hearing you're hearing no from me because that's not happening, but you're not listening to no from me.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't quite get it. He got really excited that he was getting these higher ups involved. But yeah, he wasn't part of the project much longer.
That sounds like it. As we said, I want to crash a plane, and it had to say it with a straight face too. So I want to crash a plane into the city. Yeah. I remember too when I was doing one of our high school retreats when I was working for a church, and and leave it to a youth pastor. Of course, they're gonna have crazy ideas, but he's like, I want to take the golf cart and get it up on stage. I'm like, okay, well, first off, the stage is 3 feet high. The stage will not support it. There's a boatload of equipment on that stage. And Caleb, you should not, right? And I'm like, this is no, don't do it. He acted like it was okay. Fast forward an hour later, 2 hours later, all of a sudden I see one of the kids carrying a folding table and slams it down, and the next thing I know, the doors open wide. He's shooting in, gets up the folding table that was used as a ramp, but he knocks it, so the golf cart then basically made it halfway up before the table slipped underneath it, because they didn't realize the power of the wheels was going to move the table. And then it basically, he jumps out of it, it tips over, knocks over the entire speaker line array, takes out the guitar and the leads, the guitarist amp and all this stuff.
Man.
And of course, he's just going on with it, and the whole crowd, they're high school kids. They're thinking they loving it, thinking that this whole thing is staged to happen that way. And I'm just sitting there going, and then of course, something got unplugged and his mic didn't work. So then you get hey, can I get my mic on? Well, when you knock over the Dante rack, okay.
Yep.
No, I can't.
No, you broke it real good.
So that was, So when you said the crash an airplane, it made me remember that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's burned into my skull.
It was an interesting one.
Yeah, see, that's one thing. So I don't do live events anymore, but boy, there's always the good stories. Like commercially, your classrooms are boring. If people want to play a PowerPoint, right? They want a microphone and PowerPoint. No, you don't get fun stuff like that. I miss those days. Oh,
yeah. And then we had someone who wanted to, so that the whole rest of the room could see the cake being cut. They wanted to live stream the cake being cut from the middle of the room. It was yeah. So we just set up a little rally cam, and it just like bloop. They were happy. Yeah, they're coming back this year.
They got it, right? They got it.
Yeah.
So no, that's pretty off. That's funny. Oh my gosh. This is great. This is great. I love this. I love this conversation. So, all right. Well, before I knew we were gonna go on, but we got transition. So this is a rapid. So we're gonna transition to the rapid round section of the show. All right. So rapid round section. It's just random questions that have no right or wrong answer, unless I have an opinion of my own, and you might have a wrong answer. So here we go. Everybody gets the same first question, because higher ed is a very unique vertical. Obviously, we love our tradition, things like that. So what is your favorite college tradition?
I think for us, and I didn't know about this, but as a community college, we our football team is undefeated.
Because we don't have a football team. There you go.
But we do have a radio station, and so a long time back, they were doing Monday morning stats, and they reported on, and so it turned into a whole thing, and to the point that I want to say the NCAA actually stepped in and was like, "You can't do this."
That's pretty good.
It got enough traction.
You just made up a team, and
just completely made up a team, and we won every game, and it was great and wonderful. And
that's rad. Okay, I like that one.
That's one of my favorites.
I like that. And then that becomes like urban legend stuff too, right? And it's good. I love that. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. Okay, so now you're in Colorado, so it's a unique part. So you're a little north of Denver. I mean, I brought it up on a map for you. Right? A little north. So let's say I'm coming out to visit, and I'm going there. I'm a big foodie, so if I come visit, where are you taking me? Where are we going? What are we eating?
Well, how are you with spice?
Oh, gimme.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely going to be doing a couple different Mexican restaurants, and getting green chili that is more in soup form. Think more soup stew than gravy.
Okay.
I think we have. I will say that I think we have some of the best green chili.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different things we have. It all depends on the time. I have a really new favorite pizza place right now. It's called Fusco's. I actually have known the owners for a while, but they're just starting a new venture, and their pepperonis do the little cup thing, and that's my favorite thing.
Right.
But then there's a bunch of other like food trucks depending on where you're around, and if you're depending on the libations that you like. There's a lot of different places.
See, I would say, am I wrong? Like, I don't, maybe I'm just, I'm naive to everything on earth, but I would think there'd be like good moonshine because you're kind of up almost by Wyoming, and I don't know. But anyway, sorry.
Beer, craft beer.
Craft beer area. There we go.
We are smack dab between Denver and Fort Collins, and we have some good beer.
All right. See, all right. I can take that green chili and some beer, and then we're good to go. Love it. Perfect. See, now if I ever get a chance to go, I was going to be in the area for Commercial Integrator Expo in CDO, which is going to be in Denver in just a couple of weeks. It'll be near you. So you have a conference near you, but I won't be there.
Because, darn.
I know my grandchild is being born, my first one.
Well, congratulations.
I know. So, priorities.
Correct. No, I totally understand.
All right. So now, okay, next rapid round question then. So you went to Infocom. So what, give me your top 2 or 3 experience, like moments from Infocom.
It was very overwhelming for me. I will start this off by saying that I was not expecting that many people. I don't know why I didn't expect it. But yeah, it was very overstimulating for me. I pretty much just showing up to the classes that I had already signed up for was enough for me to a certain extent. So walking on that floor and just, I was so intimidated. Again, I know my stuff, but then it's like you are thrown in front of salespeople and all sorts of stuff, and they really know their stuff. And I'm like, put me in front of the thing and I can figure my way through it. But it was, I very much reconnected on one of the things that I think I really, really enjoy, is show calling and stage management. And so I need to figure out a way to incorporate that into my job here to make it just a little bit more. All the things that they were talking about just gave me that the happy butterflies and the things that are like, yes, those are the highs that I fight for every time we do things. So that was reaffirming for me. And then now coming out of it, honestly finding you guys and being able to find this community and really wishing that I had somehow been connected into it before. So I had a little bit more of a jumping off point going into it. Because as soon as I got like a buddy or something, I am pretty social until my battery dies, and then I'm done. I'm tapped out. I need to go take a nap, sit in a pool, be done.
Yeah. See, and now for next year, when it's in Vegas, now you already have the community. You'll see all this stuff we're doing, and it is a great group. We kind of, as you'll see more, as if you kind of picked already, is we travel as a pack in our herd. Like we go and then the after party, then we go here, and then we go here. And the good thing about Vegas is we all stay at the Westgate, so it's right attached to the convention center, nice and easy. So you go out, you can go back in the morning, and so
we will see. Because I want my counterpart to be able to go if he would like to as well. So, and I don't think we can both go at the same time. So since we're a team of 2, I think it would be pretty hard to leave nobody here.
Yeah, I can see that.
I might be just the Orlando person, or if he chooses not to, then I might go to Vegas. We'll see.
Yeah, well, and It's an easy one to get to too. No, and they're fun. Like I say, both. So if you do get there, I'll have you back on the show. We'll talk about the differences because everyone has everyone's opinionated on which one's better, Vegas or Orlando. I have my opinions. I like them both for different reasons, but Orlando's better. Just let you know. Okay. But I'm the minority. Most people don't think that, but that's my opinion. All right. Okay. Next rapid round question, and I like to kind of end it up with a little bit of let's say inspiration. Okay, so in this little this section, you get 1 minute. Now it's not exactly timed 1 minute, so it's more or less a minute to talk about. Pretend the show is yours. You can talk about anything you want to talk about. And people have gone everywhere. I've had people talk, you name the topics. It's gone everywhere. It does not have to be tech. It can be anything. But just a little something. If you had your own show and you get them in and you get talk, it's your soapbox for anything. And your time starts now.
Oh, goodness. I really don't know.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
I honestly didn't think I'd be sitting here. Like I had somebody the other day ask me where did I see myself in 10 years? And I was like, I have no idea. Like maybe here, maybe somewhere else, maybe I couldn't tell you. And I also would never have in a million years been able to tell you that 10 years ago, I even saw myself here or what I saw myself doing. So you never know what the paths are going to lay out for you. And what path you choose from that. And that's part of the reason I said yes to doing this is it's so out of my comfort zone. So it's just try the things that scare you. I take the leap. What's the worst that's going to happen? No. Or you fall down and you learned a lesson and you pick up and keep going. And you try something else. So
absolutely. Hey, that was great. See, you came up. Everyone comes. It's a freaky question when I ask people. It's actually good. People don't know. Like, so people who listen like and prepare it, and it freaks them out. They're like, that's the most nerve-wracking thing. Is like, I know you're going to ask me to do something, and it's like they'll dwell on it for days. So that was good. That was actually, and I think that actually you kind of themed up everything we talked about on the show, because I think you're right. Like, to be honest, everybody's just faking it. So you go to InfoCon, like, and even if you say you go there and it feels intimidating, everyone's just faking it. Everyone's just,
I'm learning that.
We all make it up as we go along. But we have a great community to make along with, right. And I think that's, and so I love that. And I think that, yes, stepping out of your comfort zone and stepping out and saying, really what's the worst thing that happens? You don't like it, and then you don't do it again, right? I mean, that's the worst thing that happens. But I think, our community and the way our community really wants to support one another is one of the things that I love about it. It's like, I couldn't picture myself leaving the higher ed vertical because that would mean I'd have to leave this community. Right. And so that would be harder to me than just, okay, switching jobs, that's easy. But leaving the community would be very difficult, and so I totally agree with you. Just taking that step out and challenging yourself.
Yep.
100%. All right. So that being said, the very last question is, how can everyone get a hold of you in case they want to connect with you?
And that's the weird thing is I've never been part of a thing. So I currently don't have a LinkedIn. I will be changing that.
I looked for it and I couldn't find it.
I know I don't have one and it's weird. And I know that's a weird thing. My work email is brittney.grant@ames.edu. And I mean, I have personal Instagrams and that kind of stuff, but you can reach out to me in the email and we can chat and you can see if you want to follow me there.
Of course.
It's a lot of cats and a lot of beer, to be honest.
Cats and beer.
Yes, I have a very fluffy cat named Inara, and she is 8 years old, and I love her to death. And my other thing is part of Craft Beer Girls, and they're an international.
Okay, wait. Well, okay. We need to go. Now, this show is not ending because you just Craft Beer Girls.
Yep.
Okay, explain.
It's a group of girls and women across, now international. We did open it up a little bit further, but there's groups that meet up all over, and I've kind of taken a back seat for a little bit, but we just kind of had a get together this last Sunday, and I really missed them all. It's a nice group that, whether you're sober or otherwise, as long as you appreciate beer and whatnot, you have a seat at the table. And it's all walks of life, and it's really nice and fun, and it's a good connection. But yeah, craft beer is definitely a good time.
Okay, so what's your go-to beer type?
I like a lot of the darker beers. So porters. Oh, I did it again. Porters and stouts. I mixed those up the other day, and ports and stouters. It's whatever. It's good stuff. But if I have to pick one, it's the Sad Panda from Horse and Dragon up in Fort Collins. It's a coffee stout. It's delicious.
Okay.
But we are hitting pumpkin season. So a well done pumpkin ale is wonderful.
Okay. I like that. We are getting so you're going to start getting some snow and cold weather up there soon. No, that's why I live in LA. So we don't have, even though we've had awful weather for this whole year. This has been
Yes, you did.
Horrible weather. But you know what? I'm going to hope that that's going to pass and we'll go back to no weather. That's why I live here. That was good. I love that. All right. So so we're gonna have to go drink when I get up there. I'm gonna have you.
Yeah, you just let me know, or if you're through the area or whatnot, I'll swing a 6-pack down, because we also have Weldworks here in Greeley, and they're internationally known for their IPA Juicy Bits, and they have their own invitational. It's a lot of fun around here.
All right. Yeah, I feel like y'all could, you can party it up. I love that. All right. I love it. Brittney, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was fantastic. I enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully everyone listening, you enjoyed it too. Make sure you connect with her. Stay, even on the Have a Back-End channel, stay connected, build that community up. So, and again, of course, everybody, they should connect. Also, thank you for listening to the show. You can connect with me at Josiah Way on all the socials, and of course at HiredAV and org. And of course, as always, all the opinions expressed here are not necessarily those of any of our respective institutions responsible for the show. And if you do not like any of these opinions, there may be better ones next time.